Oh, let me click on things. There we go. Okay. Um, Tonight's topic is blogs, podcasts, and vlogs. And you may or may not have heard of those terms before. Probably podcast. That's probably the most popular or well-known term. But they're all kind of along the same lines. They're presenting information frequently on a regular basis or semi-regular basis. They may be the product of an organization, a group, a company, an individual, you name it. Somebody can come up with it. They can be done for free or at a very low cost. But just to go over kind of definitions of these things, we did look up the definitions just so we'd have something to say here. A blog is a regularly updated website or web page. It can be run by an individual or a small group. It's written in informal or conversational style and is regularly updated usually. And in some respects, a blog is basically Facebook is kind of like a blog, if you will, in that it's updated all the time. There's a lot of people entering information into it. It's not a formal blog, but I've got a sample of one here. I'm going to share the screen if I have that permission. I hope I do.
Yes, you do.
So let me put up a blog here in just a second or two. And alrighty, and here's the first one. This is a blog. It's from Age Guide, which is a organization that covers the eight of the counties around Chicago. DuPage County, Kane County, Will County, and so on and so forth. It doesn't actually serve Cook County directly, but this is one that serves our area where I'm at here in Downers Grove, and like I say, the other surrounding areas. It has articles, events taking place in the near future, some that have taken place in the past here. As you can see, these are entries that were made recently, and various developments that are going on. And this is it's basically a newsletter is what it is, except it's an online newsletter. And some information about blogs. There's roughly around 600 million of them out there on the internet. The average blog post is about 1,200 words, between 1,200 and 1,300 words. That's probably about 5 or 6 double-spaced pages of type, standard type. 60% of people on the internet read blogs. However, and this brings us to the next item, 72% of readers would rather watch a video than read the text. And that brings us into the area of podcasts and vlogs. Now, I don't know, is that somebody trying to get in there? I thought I heard some beeping going on. At any rate, podcasts, in the past, there's been a very definite line between podcast and vlog. Vlog being something, at first the vlog was considered to be just like a blog, except that it had a video aspect of it. You had a person speaking and they were telling you what they were doing and blah, 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 like that. Instead of having a written item, you had a visual and audio item. And the podcast was solely audio. And to a certain extent, that's true today, but there are some of the vlogs that are out there that we'll take a look at. They really they're frequently referred to as podcasts, even though there's a visual aspect to them. They're called podcasts. People talk about them as podcasts. The Geeks on Tour, and I think everybody here has seen them on occasion at our own events. But they semi-regularly do a presentation on YouTube. They go around the country in their little RV, and they make presentations all over the country, and they broadcast them when they make them. And these can be considered vlogs, but more realistically, I like to refer to them as podcasts, and other people call them podcasts as well. So those two terms kind of interchange a little bit. If it's all audio, then it is certainly a podcast and not a vlog. But if there's a visual aspect to it, it may be referred to as a podcast, or it may be referred to as a vlog. More and more, they're all falling under this category of podcast. Okay. And there's about 2 million of those available on the internet, 2 million podcasts out there. And let's take a look at a podcast, if I can find one here. Quick and Dirty Tips is a collection of different podcasts that fall under kind of a self-improvement, not self-improvement, but personal improvement categories here. Grammar Girl is probably the most popular of the crew. She's been around the longest in this group of Quick and Dirty Tips. And believe it or not, all she talks about, well, not all she talks about, but what she talks about is grammar. If you can believe that anybody would be fascinated by grammar, she manages to make it interesting. She's very good at it. She brings in guests every now and then, and they talk about it. But this is pretty much all audio. And then there's the Get Fit guy, and they've gone through several of these guys because they are athletes, many of them, and they have other things they have to do, and so they leave and they get another fitness guru in, and he talks and like that. This is one who talks about finance. This is a parent project. Here's about relationships, mentoring, nutrition, etc. Now, these are not interactive. These are programs that are pre-recorded, and they play on the air, and you listen to them. If you have comments that you want to make afterwards, you can. I'm going to take one of these programs here and play it. Right now, they're making a big out of the Curious State here. This is a new one that's coming up. It's going to come up at the end of March. So at the beginning of the podcast, there's an advertisement for this. I kind of have it timed out, so I think I can move ahead. But just to show you what it's like, we'll take Grammar Girl here, and let's take the top 10 grammar myths and see what we get. All right, and here's what you'll see. You'll see something along these lines. Basically, you'll see their logo and then a little sound bar showing you an advertisement for junk. And we got to get rid of that. Okay. And let's see here. Let's play this thing and see what happens. Come on, play.
Why don't presidents get access to UFO information? Is the mafia really that violent? Could we have Spotify or...
...has a terrible cold, so I'm Ellen Hendrickson.
Here we go.
Hello, everyone. Mignon has a terrible cold, so I'm Ellen Hendrickson, the host of a different Quick and Dirty Tips podcast, The Savvy Psychologist, and I'm going to narrate Grammar Girl for you today. This week, because it's National Grammar Day on March 4th, we have a list of Mignon's top 10 language myths. And then, because it's also the Chinese Year of the Dog, we have a rundown of some fun origins of the names of dog breeds. And at the very end, I'm going to tell you about a National Grammar Day Limerick contest you can enter on Twitter.
Okay,
And now,
I'm not going to play the whole thing, but you get the idea of what's going to happen, what you're going to have playing for you. And at any rate, I think this is from last year, because this is the year of the tiger, not the year of the dog. Last year was the year of the dog. So at any rate, but this is the basic format of the podcast, and it's kind of interesting. And all the major networks, news networks, have them. We've listed a number of them on the handout that we have for you here. Let's see here. There's we tried to list a wide variety and get everybody's point of view here. NPR, no, excuse me. We got we have NPR, MSNBC, Fox. You'll find with the networks and the stations, they will frequently have each of their major program hosts will have a podcast of their own that they run on a regular basis. Usually it's once a week. At least that's been my experience with them. They'll run once a week, but they'll have the same kind of setup that you saw in the quick and dirty tips here. Here is Grammar Girl, here is the Get Fit Guy, here is Money Girl, and they'll show you the different podcasts, and then they'll show you some of the previous episodes that you can pick from, or you can go through and take a look at more of them if you want to than what is just shown there. So that's how those work primarily. They frequently, as you heard at the beginning of this one, you heard the commercial for their new program they've got coming up. But most of them will have, they feel it necessary. First of all, they get sponsors frequently, so they have to have a little advertisement at the beginning of it. But you'll also hear a musical entry. I personally find that irritating. I'd like to get to the program rather than listen to somebody else's choice of music. But they feel like that's necessary. It makes it sound more like a radio broadcast or something, I guess, if they have a radio introduction or a theme song or something that will play. And sometimes it's a little 15 seconds or so, and other times they play an entire track of music from somewhere. Who knows who it is? And so you have to sit there and listen to their thing, or try and skip ahead until the end of the music plays. But that's a speaking version, if you will. That's just the sound. With a visual podcast or a vlog, it's a totally different story. And that is you have visuals involved in that. And today, I'm trying to think where it was that I saw that. Somebody posted it and I can't think of it. But the vlogs come up, and there's a whole slew of them. One of my favorites is the Tech for Senior guys. I don't know. I know Tim's seen this one. Tim, you've watched that, haven't you? I'm not giving you time to talk, but yeah, you've seen the Tech for Seniors. And I really love these guys. They're good. They're from all over the North American continent. They're Canada, Florida, Arizona, and I think it's New Mexico or Nevada or something. the four basic guys that you see there most of the time. And the thing that I like about their episodes is that I like the most about their episodes is the fact that they give you a menu. And what I mean by that is I'm going to let it load here first before it gets rolling. Come on, load up. They use it. They use
Freeze commerce editor for ReviewGeek.com.
okay.
USB was developed by a number.
Okay, come on. There we go. We got to watch the advertisement.
Okay, now shut up.
Okay, enough of that noise. Okay, all right.
Number of companies.
The nice thing about this, you notice it started in the middle here. I should start at the beginning. But at any rate, one of the things they have, if you go down into the what would be called liner notes on a record, you'll notice they tell you basically what Tech for Seniors is all about. It's a 1-hour show co-hosted by blah, 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 and all these people. But then it does something that's wonderful. It gives you a table of contents, and you'll notice that all of the times that are listed are hyperlinks, and they will take you directly to the item that is there at that point in the tape. So if you're not interested in listening to Bob read the security updates from Avast, which he does every week, you can go on to the next item. If you want to fix your taskbar, if you want to hear about different types of USBs, discussion of that, you can go there. My favorite, of course, is Batman. This one is a great one. I just discovered this about a week ago on my own, but this is great. In a second, look at that. Hang on, there we go. Let's get out of that. No advertisement necessary.
Surprise.
There we go.
Surprise. I did a search for Bruce Wayne. And do you see this little icon up here? Click on it and see what happens. Now you get this coming up. Click on it. Look at that. Something's going on in the Batcave. Have fun.
That's just a cute little item, but the point is that you can go anywhere in the tape. They have this thing put together in such a way that you can go to the items that you want to listen to. I never go to the live broadcast. I always wait for them to post it. They usually post it the same day and later on in the same day. And it'll have this table of contents with it, and it's just great. It really, really is terrific. That's one of the things that I think would be a great plus on the side of the video recordings we have of the meetings like tips and tricks and stuff. Not so much a meeting like this where there's a focus of one topic, but when you have a tips and tricks meeting and you're going to cover A, B, C, D, E, F, different items, it would be nice if afterwards you would have a beginning of this subject and at the beginning of that subject. And it's a relatively simple thing to do, to create links to a specific site on a video. If you want to go to a specific site on a video, you can do so. It's not a hard thing to do. But at any rate, so that's a nice feature of this particular podcast that these guys run. Let's see here. I'm trying to think if there's something else that I need to cover here on this. Okay. pretty much covered the things that are necessary to cover. We're not talking about how to create these things. That's a whole other story in its entirety there. Although the easiest thing to create is a blog, it's also the most difficult thing to try and keep up as far as I'm concerned, or to try and stay regular with, because you have to actually sit down and write something and then post it, as opposed to just kind of getting up in front of a microphone and speaking or reading a script or demonstrating something as far as how to make something work, etc., on your machine or on a machine. Or for that matter, whatever it is that you want to do with the with your blog. Does anybody out there besides me listen to podcasts or watch vlogs or read blogs, follow any of these things? Anybody? You can unmute yourself if you want, if you have something to say.
I have a few podcasts that I watch.
What kind of podcasts do you watch, Bert?
Well, I like the Twit TV programs, especially Windows Weekly. There's also Security Now, but they have several programs, podcasts that are free each week. And I also watch some programs, a podcast from Tom Merritt. There's a daily program that they put out, a podcast for about half an hour on the news of the day, tech news. And let's see, there's also, what else is there? There's, I do a lot of looking at what's his name? Paul Thurrott. And he has a podcast that's on Twit TV, but he has a daily news articles that come up. You can see more if you belong to his site for money, but there's plenty of it that's for free.
Yeah, that's the thing. Some of the sites do want you to pay some kind of entry fee in order to participate fully. It's that way with, even with the Tech for Seniors, they have a segment that's for members only, and Geeks on Tour does the same thing. They'll have, you get certain extras with them that you don't get if you just listen for free. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you got to try and figure out some way to pay the bills, and that's as good a way as any to make it happen. So yeah, and do you ever watch, I can't remember his last name, but his name is John, and he does Excel tutorials, little mini tutorials, and he's just overflowing with energy and enthusiasm, and knowledge is unreal of spreadsheets. And he's got a whole ton of I call them podcasts. You can call them instructional videos, whatever, but he does them so regularly, and they're just about one a week that he comes out with. And sometimes I tune it in and I take a look, and after about 30 seconds I say, I don't think so. That's outside my pay grade. And other times I look at it and I say, I didn't know I could do that. Or I'll get an aha, something I've been doing forever, and he'll show a shortcut to it. Instead of using 5 steps, he'll do it in 1. And it's like, I didn't know I could do that, and I can. And
Joe, I think a lot of those are great, but there's several of them like that on Excel, but they're usually trying to sell you their course or their books to go with
Yeah.
it. But even the limited stuff that they give away for free is always useful.
oh yeah,
Another place where that is also helpful is LinkedIn Learning. So LinkedIn Learning used to be lynda.com.
Yeah,
they've got 3,000 videos of different topics there, but
yeah,
you have to pay.
yeah. I'm
And
yeah, and I'm yeah. It's yeah, but if you check now, you mentioned that you have to pay. Check with your local libraries. So
Right.
many of the local libraries now subscribe to the lynda.com or whatever it's called now under LinkedIn, and you can access, and all you need is your library card, and the library's paying for it through your taxes. But they pay a fee, but you have access to all 3,000 or thousands and thousands of videos that they have.
Right.
So yeah,
There's one more thing that I pay for, which is Sirius XM, and they have a program, Doctor Radio, which is outstanding, where you have medical doctors talk about different topics all the time.
my wife
But
loves that
you-
program.
but you have to belong to Sirius XM.
Yeah, you do. Yes, this is true. Yeah, if you don't, especially with things like the, um, the television streaming services and stuff like that, you even if there is a podcast, or if there's some kind of um, program that you like to listen to, etc., these places usually do require that you subscribe or be a member of, or whatever, if you want to listen to Dr. Radio, or if you want to listen to what are some of the other ones that are out there? I can't think of them right now. You need to have a serious, if you want to listen to the old time radio program, I can't think of what the station is called, but if you want to listen to that, you have to have a Sirius contract, a Sirius XM contract. Otherwise, you go out there and it says sign in. Well, you can't sign in if you don't have an account, so you're just out of luck. But many of these, and John is also trying. I call him John because that's the only name I know right off the top of my head. He does have a thing that he tries to push periodically, but most of his stuff is really, really good, and he doesn't always advertise his thing on there. He does the program. He'll do 2 or 3 programs without even mentioning any of his stuff, and then he'll do one, and he really focuses on his special programs that he has, and they're basically add-ons for Excel. But there are classes also, and you can find a podcast, you can find a vlog, you can find a blog on just about any topic that you want, that you can name. If you go out to Google and you just type a topic, I'm kind of into martial arts, so I'll type martial arts and I'll type podcast, and here's a list of the best 25 martial arts podcasts that you must follow in 2022. Krav Maga for beginners. At any rate, these are some of the items that are out there. If you're into, oh, Al, you're into woodworking, right? I don't know. Is woodworking one word or 2? I'll try.
2.
2 words?
What's 1 word? 1 word.
1 word? Okay. And here are some podcasts on woodworking. Wood Talk, the Unplugged Woodworking, Modern Woodworkers Association, Shop Talk Live, etc. And you mentioned that some of your programs with the woodworking group that you belong to are also recorded. And you may want to consider getting yourself a a YouTube channel. That's something that you know, we've just gotten that recently with the Chicago Computer Society. We have a channel, and if you have another group, or if you even have your own podcast on your own thing, you know, Bert, if you decide to set up some kind of a CPA podcast or whatever, you could set yourself up with a channel. There's no cost for it. You just create a bunch of videos with your materials, and then you say you want to create a channel, and you create a channel, and now it's a Bert Good CPA podcast, and your stuff will be up there, and people can go out and look at it. They can look at it once a week. They can subscribe to it, etc. But it's a really relatively easy thing to do, to set this up for yourself. So if you're interested in that, you can do it. Let's see here. What else we got? I'm trying to think. Anybody have any questions about this stuff? I would think there'd be some questions, because the topic itself is pretty simple and pretty straightforward. And Bert mentioned a good thing to know is that many times these places are trying to sell you something. In the case of the quick and dirty tips, they're not selling you something so much as they are getting paid advertising. So you'll have an advertisement at the beginning, then about halfway through, they'll have another advertisement, and occasionally they'll have one at the end. But by that time, people will turn it off when they hear the one at the end. So unless they want to hear about what's coming next week, because that'll come after the last commercial. But at any rate, there will be that kind of aspect to it, because somebody's got to pay for these things. Somebody's got to pay for the research that's done. Somebody got to pay for the time of the person making the podcast. It all costs. There's money involved all the way along the line somewhere. Nothing is totally for free, and so you have to deal with that aspect of things. Okay. But anybody can set these things up. They're pretty simple to do. Any questions?
Yes. Sorry.
Yeah, Tony, what?
Can you use Bitcoin to pay for the podcast?
I have absolutely no idea. I do not understand Bitcoin. I do not want to understand Bitcoin. But I don't know. I would think that there's probably someone out there or some organization out there that will accept that as payment, but I don't know that for a fact. So Bitcoin is outside my roundhouse, so to speak. Other questions?
I have a comment and then a question. My
Yeah, Mark.
nephew bought almost all of his house using something similar to Bitcoin. I don't remember exactly which one it was, but it was an expensive house and he paid for nearly all of it with one of those coin things. And the other question I have is, when I look for an answer, a video answer, I try to Google it, and I try to go on the video network, and I cannot seem to find the way to Google to get to what I want. And people tell me, oh, I saw this, just do this and you'll find it. And I don't. Is there some trick to how you write your search to find?
Let me ask you this, Mark. When you go out there, are you going out to YouTube or are you going out to Google? Mark, are you there? You're muted, Mark.
Am I muted now?
No, you're fine now.
I use Google Chrome to find the videos, the ones you mentioned.
Okay. Can you give me an example of something that you're trying to look for?
I was trying to look for some childhood songs that I had remembered, thinking the next time I was around children, I would teach them to them, some that I had learned in Sunday school.
What's
And
one
it
of the
took-
songs?
Father Abraham, and I finally found it, but it took me a while to do it.
You know
And
what
I'm wondering,
what you might want to do is actually, instead of using Google, just go straight out to YouTube and try that. Frequently, Google will find you. I mean, there are ways of trimming it down, but that's like another class in Google. But Google will look for anything with those words in it, and it might not just be the song, it might be a quote from a speech, from
Bible.
a letter, from a document, from a book, etc. But if you go out to YouTube and you type that in their search, it's going to look for a video with close to that name. And chances are you'll find it a lot faster if you do a YouTube search than if you do a Google search. It'll be more focused, let's put it that way, and it's an easier way to focus than writing in it's not real complicated the way that you would search on Google for it, but you got to do some sidestepping and dancing around. But with YouTube, it's looking for videos. That's all it's looking for is videos. So you might be able to find it that way.
Yeah, the rule of thumb is if you're at a site, it's better to search the site than to
Yes,
search Google.
Exactly. Yeah. And if you're looking for a video, go to the video. The place for videos is YouTube. There's dozens of other sites that have many different videos on them, but YouTube is pretty much the champ as far as quantity is concerned. I won't say exactly quality, but quantity. And they do have some standards, so you're not going to get too much stuff that's out in left field, or right field, as the case may be, whichever field you don't want to be in. Yeah, those would be probably the best things to do if you're looking for that kind of stuff. But once again, that's kind of searching or looking for videos. That's a little bit different than what we're doing here. But I'm sure that there are groups, that work on that. And Mark, if I recall, you like to do square dancing and stuff. You've mentioned that in the past, and there's probably a podcast for it. Let's see if there's anything for that. And lo and behold, there are podcasts for, I don't know what birdie in the cage is. That's probably some kind of square dance term. But Square Dance Radio, the Do Show. Oh my goodness gracious. And goes on from there. So yeah, it's if you use Google to look for things, just add the word podcast or vlog or blog and into your search listing, and it'll find what you're looking for in that respect. But be aware, these are broad scope topics. This is not going to, if you're looking for a blog or a podcast on a particular subject, that's going to be a little more difficult to do. But if you go broad and then get into the podcast, you can usually narrow it down somewhat. And many times the podcasts and the vlogs will have menus associated with them or links to an index of their previous programs, or they'll have a channel with collection of their previous programs that they've had. Probably the most famous of the podcasts that are out there are those from TED Talks. TED Talks are technically podcasts. You have speakers on a regular basis. They record them, they put them out there, and they have all three categories covered. They have blogs, they have podcasts, sound only, and they have video logs, vlogs. So usually animations for kids. They've got a lot of good programming for youngsters, and they use animation to do it. They have everything from history to crafts to, gosh, you name it, how the body works, how our Constitution works, etc. Educational stuff for kids. And then they have the more thinky, cerebral type things, and those are usually visual casts as well. But they do have, occasionally they have just recorded programs where you just have the sound of the speaker. But definitely, so you've got a wide variety of programs available out there. And like I say, with, considering the millions of blogs and vlogs and podcasts that are out there, with that number of them that are out there, you're going to find something on just about any topic that you can come up with. Bob, you probably listen to some. Once again, most of the ones you listen to, I bet, are way above my pay grade.
I don't find I have a whole lot of time. What with all the meetings that I have and the outdoor volunteer activities I have, I hardly even get to TV shows anymore.
Okay. Then I'm wrong.
I used to really love PBS, and there were probably lots of blogs and vlogs about PBS shows.
Yeah, they do have
Nova,
lots of that stuff. Yeah.
Nova, the American Experience, they all have blogs.
Yeah, PBS has a ton of stuff out there.
They have podcasts. NPR has tons of podcasts. My sister is really into those.
Yeah, I know. And there's been a big interest since the pandemic started, because now people are working from home, and they don't have to listen to the piped in music, somebody's favorite music from the office. The guy that runs the audio machine at the office, they don't have to listen to his music anymore, or her music. They can listen to their favorite radio program or their favorite podcast, as the case may be, while they're working. I've known several people that are just tickled to death because they're working at home and they can listen to their podcasts while they work. It's great, so there's a lot of interest in that now.
And NewsHour and various other places have podcasts, and they also have frequent updates where they post sort of vlog style, so that you can keep up with things like what's happening overseas.
Yeah, exactly. And the places like this, like you mentioned there. Not only that, but in the area of technology, which is kind of what we guys here are supposed to be all about, there's some really good stuff that's out there, and some resources that are available to us. You have the Geeks on Tour, you have the Tech for Seniors, and there's I just found one. What's his name? Let me find it there. Where are you, guy? I know you're here somewhere, but I don't have it on this printout. Okay, I think his name is Dado Tech or something like that. But I just found him the other day. Let me see if I can find him real quick here. Let's see here. Where did he go? Where are you? There he is. Dodo Tech. His last name is Dodaberg or something like that, and so he calls his program Dodo Tech. But I was just kind of randomly going through. I had some some time yesterday, and I just went to YouTube, and I said, show me some stuff. I went to the homepage, and it showed me random stuff based upon things that I listened to in the past. And this guy's thing came up, and he had a thing on Google Maps, and I learned things about Google Maps I'd never known before. And he's so enthusiastic and very, very knowledgeable and a very good presenter. And I was just really, really impressed with his presentation and the program. So I'm going to be watching him for a while now. But it seems, I think he kind of concentrates on Google, but I think he has other things as well. And as far as I know, he's not really trying to sell anything. He's just a guy that likes tech, and he's gonna tell you all about it. Oh, and by the way, I can't forget, and they're not in here, but I got to tell you about the vlog that my wife likes to watch, Kitten Academy. I don't know if anybody's ever watched Kitten Academy, but this guy takes in female cats that are pregnant, and he has live video 24/7. He takes them in his home. When the cats have the babies, they get taken care of. He takes care of their needs, keeps them healthy, gets them their shots, gets them spayed and neutered, gets some other spayed, and at any rate, and then he finds homes for them, and people will come from all over the country to get the cats because he socializes them so well, and they send things in and all sorts of things, and this is just a basically slice of life type of podcast, but it's called Kitten Academy. And I must admit, I don't watch it quite as much as she does, but I do enjoy watching it once in a while because the cats are just crazy creatures. That's all there is to it. And they're fun to watch. They just have a good old time. And he's not trying to sell anything. He's just doing this. He does get, financed through donations and things, but he doesn't make a big deal out of it. People do it out of the goodness of their heart. They send him money. He never asks for it. They just send it, and they send him supplies and all sorts of other things. And every now and then a manufacturer of something, some kind of pet supply, will send him something, and he gives them a plug, but he doesn't go overboard on it. He just says, we want to thank the people from so-and-so for sending this. It's kind of a neat little toy, and the cats seem to like it, and that's it. And then he goes on. But he's got a real good dialogue, and that's a vlog, if you will. So there, like I say, there's these social broadcasts on just about any topic you can think of, and they're real easy to find. And if you don't like it, don't go to that one. Find another one, and you can subscribe. Many times on the video on the YouTube, you can click the subscribe button, and every time they come out with a new one, you'll get an email telling you that there's another one out there and that you should go and look at it. So that's a story on blogs and podcasts and vlogs. Anybody have any questions? Is anybody still awake?
At least.
Hey, Joe.
Yeah.
So to create a podcast, you have to have your own website or anything, or somebody has to host you, or what's the process?
Well, basically what you can do is you can if you create now I'm not certain of what the whole thing is because I've not created a podcast or anything, and there are some programs that will show you how to do that. I'm doing presentations for an organization now called Get Set Up. I do 2 a month, and they've got a couple hundred different programs that they run every week. And at any rate, they do have some programs on how to set up your own podcast and things. And I've seen some of the local libraries out here have had programs. There's a library, I'm trying to think which library it is. I think it's the library in Woodridge or Bolingbrook Library, but they've got a name of, somebody's name attached to the library. But at any rate, that library, Fountaindale, I think it's Fountaindale, and they have a guy out there. They have a real media center, and they talk about, what kind of microphone you should get and what kind of lighting you should get and all sorts of, if you want to get real fancy about it. But if you want to keep it simple, you can just set up a video of yourself and post it into YouTube, and then create a channel for yourself and put your items in your channel, and you've got yourself a podcast.
So would the only difference or the primary difference between putting your stuff on YouTube versus creating a podcast would be YouTube, you're under their, they make the rules, what you can put out there, or what they like, what they don't like. With a podcast, you can do anything you want, and they can't, nobody to censor you or do anything. Would that be correct?
Well, if you listen to Spotify and you listen to some of the stuff that goes on the Spotify podcast, controversy right now, yeah, you can. They don't seem to have any kind of oversight on their what they have for podcasts.
Yeah, it depends on who's hosting.
Yeah, it really does depend on who's hosting. YouTube does have certain rules and regulations that they expect you to follow, and even places like Spotify will have some restrictions on what they consider good taste or bad taste. Although from some of the things that are out there that I've heard, I don't know what their limitations are or where the limits are at, but no, yeah, you can set up just about any topic you want. If you want to do something political, you can do something political on YouTube. I don't think they'll get too upset. The thing about doing it on YouTube is, unless you want to pay for a channel, you will have advertising on your videos. There will be an advertisement at the beginning, and if it runs over a half hour, you'll probably have one at the half hour, and the commercial will come in the middle of a sentence, if that's when it's deemed necessary to have a commercial. But outside of that, you can set it up as you will, and whatever topic you want. But like I say, I'm not really knowledgeable about all of the details of setting that up, so I would have to steer you somewhere else than myself. But like I say, I think it's the fountain. Yeah, I can't remember what it is now. But the library out in Bolingbrook, I think it is, has a whole video and media center, and they have somebody there that's very, very knowledgeable, and periodically they will run a workshop on that topic. And they've been running it on Zoom. Some of the libraries are going back to live, and others are staying into Zoom, and some are doing hybrids. They're running Zoom and a live presentation together at the same time. So, but check with your local libraries. And it's not just your local library, your own personal local library. Check on the libraries. If you're in the suburbs, check all the libraries in the suburbs near you. They are very, very good at interlibrary sharing. And most of them don't require that you be a member of their, a patron from their particular library to go to their program. They're happy to get people at these programs, especially those that are doing Zoom programs. because they aren't restricted by space limitations. So that's about it. That's about all we have. So hope that worked for folks.
Joe, you want to unshare your screen?
Sure. Let me get out of this and just a second here. And
Joe,
you're back in. There you go.
yeah. Joe, one last thing. That's Fountaindale Library. Fountaindale Public Library.
Fountaindale Public Library, yeah.
Bolingbrook, Illinois.
That's right.
I still remember that from long ago.
Yeah, they have really good programs out there for media. I think that's the one. I'm pretty sure that's the one. But they've recently, and by recently I mean within the last 10 years, they had a major remodeling of the library out there, and they've got a sound system and a media center. I mean, it's like the whole basement is a media center. It's amazing, absolutely amazing.
Yeah, you've got good resources out there.
You betcha.
Okay, do we have any more blog questions? Okay, we're going to shut down the recording.